it. We can say, this isn't right. But if you got your money from the government, you wouldn't want to do that because you're biting the hand that feeds you. And so you'd have a restriction into what you could say. And so that really allows us to try to push the government to use our taxpayer dollars for things that are going to benefit women and girls and human rights in general. And so we call ourselves nonpartisan. And what that means is that we don't align with any political party. Right now, our federal government is a liberal government. The Liberal Party is in power. And as long as they're doing okay, we're fine with them. If they start screwing up, if they start spending money on stuff we don't think is important and taking money away from people and things that are important, we're going to start to make noise and become advocates. And so, generally speaking, we try to build awareness with our members and the way that we do that is a bunch of different ways. So we have a board, we have people sitting on different positions in the board. So for instance, I'm a chair on the provincial board, and my chair is status of women and human rights. And so I'm looking at stuff like that. And when I see the provincial government violating any of that, then I would delve into it and try to get the members, bring awareness to the members through the newsletter that we send out. If we're going to send a letter to the government, so say our provincial body wants to send a letter to the Ford government, which is a conservative government, conservative governments often take money away from what we call the social safety net. So they want businesses to prosper. They want everyone to make money. They want everything to be moving forward. They want to get rid of red tape. They don't want a lot of rules around. And so when the Ford government came in, the first thing he did was he threw out so we have lots of audits and things that happen. So for instance, in the nursing homes, they get audited by the government every year. And they go in and make sure that all the nursing homes are doing what they're supposed to be doing and employing the proper amount of staff, that the patients inside are getting the care they need, and standards are being met. And he said, we don't need that. We're going to dispense with those audits because that costs a lot of money. And so we're going to get rid of it. He called it getting rid of the red tape. And then COVID hit. And people started dying because the nursing homes were not up to standard. And so within a year of his taking over, this big fiasco happened and they weren't prepared. And so that's the downside of we have these rules, we have these audits, all of this stuff. But if you don't do them and you just expect that people are going to run their nursing homes properly and do the proper thing, and a lot of our nursing homes in Canada, in London, in Ontario, are for profit. So that means that those companies are making money, and they better make money or their bosses are going to get fired. And so if they can cut corners, they will. And they do. And then you see the clients, the residents of these nursing homes suffer. So that's just one example of how we as an organization are kind of like watchdogs, and we don't have any power. We can't make it happen, but we can make noise and we can make people aware. So we bring speakers in to talk about things, to make us aware, and then we make our other members aware through newsletters, through resolutions, and all of that. And then we make that noise, which is the advocacy part. And so learning how to be an advocate is really a key piece of something that you will use in your life forever. You'll use it to advocate for yourself, for your children in school, for family members in the healthcare system or whatever, or just perfect strangers, or the environment that can't speak for itself. And whatever your passion is, you will be able to learn how to be an advocate and then put that into play. And it could even be a project that you're really passionate about through your workplace, and you want to advocate for that project. So there's so many applications for advocacy, and there's so many different ways to do it. But I would say, to begin with, to be able to advocate, you have to first bring the awareness. And so you have to learn about it. So say, for instance, you think, we're putting salt on the roads and that's not right. We need to do something else. It's hurting the environment. And then you have to do the research. What is the salt doing? Are we putting salt on the roads? Is that what London is using? And then you do that research, you find out, oh, we're not putting salt on the road, we're putting calcium carbonate on the road. Well, what is calcium carbonate doing? And then you bring up, you bring your own awareness to it. And then you start to do your research into what's a better product. Yes, maybe it costs more, but it's better for the environment. How do we advocate for that? How do we, now, it's not always up to us to find the cost savings. Do you know what I mean? Like, we don't always have to justify that part. We just have to point out that this isn't the best way to do it. This is the harm. This is what's harm is coming from this practice. And there's a better way. And so-and-so's doing it. Look at down the road in Hamilton, blah, blah, blah. They're doing this. So finding best examples and all of that are great ways. So that's kind of like, in a nutshell, the whole piece. So whether you wanted to advocate for that, or, I had a student who did a little advocacy project on if your parents wouldn't allow you to go to university because they thought it was a waste of money. And so this student had to do the research and find out what are the benefits and what is a pay, back going to be down the road, and all of that. And then builds a little case scenario to bring to the parents to say, here's the benefit, here's the cost, and here's why you should do this. Here's why you should invest in my future, blah, blah, blah. Now, it was kind of a made up thing, but it's the idea of it can apply to anything. And so what I want to do with your class is to really bring that, and there's a lot of different ways we can do it. We could do it as a pure research project. All you're going to do is pick a topic and then do the research into that topic and find out more. And then that becomes awareness for my organization, for CFUW. Could be a speaker event. Maybe you pick a topic, you think there's a problem, you do the research. It's always going to be topic and research. And then you do the research and you find out kind of what is the information you want to bring to light. And you want to bring it to light through a speaker event. So you want to get experts in the field to come on a Zoom call, probably, and talk about what that issue is and look at it from different sides. It could be a workshop. It could be that you want people to come and learn about something, and you want to have a booklet of all the facts and figures and a presentation, and so that my organization can present it. We can present it together as a group. And then I have that as a tool afterwards that, so we call those deliverables. The deliverable is the research, the deliverable is the workshop, or the deliverable is the speaker event. And so I leave it wide open for all of you to think about what kinds of things you're passionate about. It's nice if it fits into the addictions and mental health. That's kind of a bit of a bonus, that if you can bring it there, because now you're working within the field that you're studying, and then we can. But to be honest, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be addictions and mental health related. So I think everything in life that causes stress is a factor of addictions and mental health, right? Anything that is, if it's traffic, if it's the traffic driving crazy and I have to get out in that traffic and I'm terribly nervous because people are driving every which way, they're going too fast, they're, whatever, that's can stress people before they even get to work. And now you're starting your day off in a terrible state. So it could be meditation. It could be something like, how do we bring ourselves back down to a nice calmness, no matter what our day was? How can we find that space and time to? So whatever you think the topic will be, and that's part of the way that we'll go through things. So to start with, we'll kind of get to know each other on today's call. And then going forward, we'll start to pick the project. So we'll start to talk about what your passions are. And so I will stop talking now for a second, and I'm going to turn it over to all of you. And I know we did this kind of in the one-to-one a little bit, but just tell us a little bit about who you are, say your name, who you are, and kind of what brings you to this particular what brought you to CFUW as your project, as your placement. So I'm going to start with I get my list going here, see what's going on. Stephanie, do you want to start? You're the newbie here, so.
Hello, nice to finally meet you. My name is Stephanie George. I'm from Sarnia, Ontario. I am a recent graduate of the social service worker program here at Lambton College here in Sarnia. Within that, I had student field placement with the nonprofit organization, the Inn of the Good Shepherd. The Inn of the Good Shepherd houses a lot of our homeless people here in Sarnia. I work at both of their shelter locations here in Sarnia, the Lodge and the Overflow Shelter. I got hired on through my student placement through there for the past year. So what brought me to the addictions and mental health course is gaining further knowledge and understanding on how I can assist the clients that I already work with in the field. It's a very heavy field to work in, I'm coming to find. So hoping with this graduate certificate under my belt that I can apply for case management, direct care worker, outreach service workers within the city of Sarnia here.
Wow, you're going to be up to your eyeballs. That's not admin stuff. That's front line. So
Yes.
good for you, Stephanie. Kate, do you want to go next?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Nice to meet you, Stephanie. Uh, and my name is Kate. I'm from South Korea. Uh, Actually, I've been here just for 1 year, and English is not my first language, so I'm not familiar with using English very well, so please understand me. But I can understand what you are saying. So uh, uh, usually I I'm gonna listening more than speaking. But I have a lot of passion with this field. Uh, but in my country, I was a emergency medicine doctor, so naturally, helping people uh, comes to me. Uh, I guess it's that kind of thing is ingrained in me. So I have a lot of passion to help people. Uh, so I chose the addiction and mental health program for my second program. And I'm very happy to be with you. Actually, I have a lot of, I don't have any specific background in Canada. So, taking this placement, I'm looking forward to get a lot of awareness about Canada and advocacy for people. Yeah, that's my passion.
Good. Awesome. Welcome,
Thank
Kate.
you.
And I think so this is your second winter here in Canada.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah. And I think we had a bad winter last winter, and I thought maybe when I'm
Yeah.
talking to you, I said I thought this winter was going to be better, and it is not better. It's just as bad as
Yeah.
last year. So I don't know. They say global warming, but I don't know. It seems like it's getting colder to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Ashka, did I say that right?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So, hello everyone. My name is Ashka and I'm coming from India. I came in 2023. I have done a master's in clinical psychology in India, and currently I am pursuing AMH course. And mental health is, I'm very interested in this field because I have been having that kind of compassion for everyone, and I feel that everyone deserves support. And currently I am a crisis responder and certified listener. I'm working as a crisis responder and certified listener, and I am not sure what I'm going to do in advocacy. That's something new for me, but let's see how it goes. I'll give some brainstorming for that.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Sounds great. And Chimaka, did I say it right?
Okay. Happy New Year once again. Oh, thank you, everyone. My name is Chamaka. I am from Nigeria. I came into Canada 2024 and I have a background in finance. So coming into the country, I came in as a student project management. That was my first program. So I stay around Dundas and I see a lot of people, homeless people, and people that are addicted and stuff like that. So when I was about taking my second program, I decided to take addiction and mental health to see a way that, oh, what is happening, how I can help. Though is a thing, it's not really a thing in Nigeria like that. I see so many people like that in Nigeria, but it's mostly attached to maybe the person is having spiritual problems or stuff like that. So coming into doing the program now, I can really understand that, oh, that people they are passing through a lot. It's not about being homeless or being addicted also, but so many other areas that people that they find stress in. So coming into doing this placement with Canadian Women and Federation, I know it's about advocacy, about women and girls, how they can thrive in the society. Or back then when I was working in Nigeria as well, I know I worked under my manager was a man, my boss was a man, and it was difficult working with him. And everything was left for me to do. And because he's a man, he doesn't want to see me like rise. And coming into this placement, and I'm posted to the Canadian Women, I can really understand how maybe not only me as well, but how people they pass through that stress as well. So with learning in this part of this advocacy, I think with that I can be able to help other young girls to passing stress through one way or the other in their workplace and stuff like that. So I think I'm open to learning more and helping
Awesome.
people around me. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Okay, so next, I guess we want to think about what kind of project we want to do. So the topic and whether the project, we don't have to sort this out today, but whether the project is going to be more information, awareness, or whether we're going to go right to the advocacy piece, or whether it's a combination of both. And so in CFUW, one of the things that they do is create a resolution for advocacy. And I just learned this a little bit myself because I haven't been with this particular organization as long as I was with a different organization, and they did things a little bit differently. So, for instance, they might have a resolution. The other group would say, I want to write a resolution about Lyme's disease and making sure that the ticks are cleared up. And so it would be very specific to that particular topic and that solution. And so that resolution then, if it's passed by the members, would be put in a brief to the government, basically telling the government, this is what our group thinks you need to work on and spend our taxpayer dollars on. This group, CFUW, is a little bit different. They write the resolutions about the topic, and they tend to make the topics fairly broad. So they might talk about tick-related diseases, and it's really for everything, and it's a blanket kind of thing. And it doesn't go to government. It goes back to the groups, back to the organization, and then the organization lobbies the government. So the London Club, for instance, would write letters to our MPs and MPPs and specifically try to give them direction of what we want to do. So it's kind of a bit different. It doesn't come from the national or the provincial to the government. It comes from the clubs. But if you get enough clubs taking up that gauntlet, taking up that piece, then they get bombarded from all the different perspectives. And that's, I guess, how they think that the advocacy works better rather than just one letter to the government from one organization. It's a whole bunch of letters going to, so usually it's letters and that kind of thing. So bringing in speakers, raising funds, raising money, anything that they do would be for that particular focus. So often clubs will put a focus on for a year or maybe two, and maybe it's violence against women or intimate partner violence. And then they would bring in all their speakers. They'd invite the public to come to their meetings to hear the speakers. They might do a fundraiser for like Women's Community House or something like that. And that's sort of the advocacy piece for this group. So when I say we could write a resolution, it's kind of like we'd have to look to see, because the last groups that I worked with, they wrote resolutions and then we sent them in, and the governing body of CFUW said, oh no, we already have that. So they wrote a resolution about very specifically, one of my groups last year wrote a resolution about the Truth and Reconciliation. I'm trying to think of what they called them. Each individual recommendation. So I think there's 94, and they wrote about 18. I think it was 18 and 19. Those two recommendations they wanted, and they did all the research on those two, and it was women in the healthcare system, and it was to make sure that Indigenous people had unbiased healthcare access. And so they pointed out how this isn't happening, how the problems have happened. They wanted the government to make sure that those two recommendations were being met. When it went to the body, the national body of CFUW said, we did a resolution on truth and reconciliation already, and we asked for all of the recommendations to be adopted. So we don't need another one. So the students did all that work. I felt a bit in vain because they were narrowing in on one topic. They did all that research, and it was rejected by national. But what they said was, because the broad spectrum idea is already there, we can go ahead and advocate. We can go ahead and send those letters to the MPs, and we can use this research, and we can advocate on behalf of those two recommendations. We just don't have to go through national to get it approved, because it's already been approved. So if we decide as a group that we want to go the resolution route, maybe the idea would be to see if your topic has already been approved. And if it has, then we just skip forward. Instead of writing the resolution to CFUW, we just start at the advocacy campaign on behalf of CFUW London. So that's that's a bit tricky. I don't know if you're catching all of what I mean by that. So I'm not really recommending that we write a resolution. I think that the process isn't as clear as I had thought it was. I would suggest that we either check the resolutions to see if what you're passionate about is listed there. If it is, go right to the advocacy piece. If it's not, then we can talk about writing a resolution. What the resolution does is kind of makes it policy within the organization. So it's like if it's not there at all, if it's something new and we want to write a resolution on it, then it prompts the organization to adopt that policy so that everybody within the organization can speak about it. So I guess the better way to explain it maybe is, if I feel passionate about something, I can't just say I represent CFUW London and CFUW London believes X, Y, and Z. I have to make sure that CFUW actually has agreed to a policy somewhere in their archives, and they actually have said that before I can say, as a CFUW member, this is the case. I can say I'm Linda Davis and I believe X, Y, and Z, but I can't say I'm representing CFUW London about it. So once we find out if it's already been approved, then we can go ahead and speak from a CFUW perspective. So I hope that's kind of made that a little bit clear. And they do have all of those resolutions on the website. So there's a national and there's a provincial, and they have all of their resolutions recorded. So you can see what the topic is, you can see what the resolution is, and you can see if it's within the parameters of what you wanted to put forward. So that being said, I guess the next step is really to sort of think about the topic. And it doesn't necessarily have to be just about women and women and girls. It could be about, many different things. But yeah, it really has to be something about human rights. Or have you heard of the Sustainable Development Goals? Sustainable Development Goals was something that was started at the United Nations a few years back, and there are 18 of them, and they deal with women and girls. They deal with like gender equality. They deal with climate change. They deal with housing and homelessness, food, and so you can go on to the you can just Google them and Sustainable Development Goals and look and see. And that's something, if it's within that realm, it's within the realm of CFUW. So that kind of is a bit of a good guideline for what. And there's health and mental health, I think, in there as well. There's economic development and things that we don't really get into very much from our perspective. We deal more with people and ensuring that we have our human rights. Any questions, any thoughts or questions at this point?
What is your women leading change conferences? Because I noticed on your website, there's like a bunch of links and a lot of throughout the year being hosted.
Women leading change, I don't think is ours. And when you say on your website, you mean the CFUW London or CFUW?
It might have took me to the Ontario Council, but I think it was listed on the.
Oh, sorry. Yes, my bad. women leading change is our theme for the year, and that was actually my idea.
Okay.
So our theme was women helping women, and I said, we need to move past that. We need to move past being helpers. We need to move past being followers, being being the person behind, giving the push. We need to be leading. And so women leading change is really the theme that we want women to start thinking about, is that we're leading that change. We're in front. Yeah.
Okay.
So we do have a speaker series, and it's October, November, and then there's another one in February. And so my one was in November, and it was a professor from Western. She talked about patriarchy. And so Stephanie, you haven't heard this, but I think the others have. I got the opportunity to work with the Ontario government in 2015 and 2016. And the government then was a Liberal government led by Kathleen Wynne. And she had, I was working with an organization for for pay equity. And we had been really pushing her to close the gender pay gap. And so she said, basically, we're gonna look at it. We're gonna look at why is there a gender pay gap. And so she charged 2 of her ministers with determining why is there a gender pay gap and how do we close it. And so they decided to do a task force and a steering committee. And I was asked to sit on the steering committee. So there were 4 of us, 2 government people and 2 civilian people. And we, for one whole year, we had a team of researchers working with us. We met in Toronto once a month, and then more frequently as the project moved on. We traveled to 15 different cities in Ontario. We had town hall meetings. We met with specific groups, but we met with general public. We called for papers to be submitted. And basically, we wanted to hear from the people. Why do they think there's a gender pay gap? And how do we solve it? How do we resolve it? 2 things came out of that. And I think these are really profound for me. These were aha moments for me. One was we asked for a study into a job that was completely male dominated and then completely changed to female dominated. And I think our parameters were like 90% males in the job, changing to 90% females or something like that. And the career was HR professional. So HR professionals, human resources professionals in Canada was a male dominated career back in the 50s and 60s. Always men in that big offices, big paychecks. They dominated. And then it slowly swung, the pendulum swung, and it is now a female dominated career. And what happened to that career is the pay dropped. So when the pay dropped, the job didn't change. It still is the same job, but the pay came out of it. And so now we have this mentality of pushing women into male dominated jobs because they're high paying. And so what will happen when those jobs become female dominated? There's more women than men. I think we'll see pay drops. Why is that happening? So you have to question it. Why did it happen with HR professionals? It happened because women are not valued as much as men. And women are not valued as much as men because of a system that we have had in probably every country of the world called patriarchy. And patriarchy just basically says that males are worth more, males are valued more. And so it's not so much about making men and women the same, it's making their value the same. It's valuing women just as much as we value men. And so when you look at things like male attributes, we tend to think of those as positive. And when you look at female attributes, we tend to have a negative response to it. And so one of the biggest slurs that you can give to a man is to call him a woman, I'm a golfer, and if somebody hits a putt on the golf course and it doesn't get to the hole, what do they say to the guy? Come on, Alice. They automatically say he's like a woman. He's not, he can't get the putt to the hole. And so it's a problem that we need to face. And that's why I wanted a speaker about patriarchy, because really the culprit becomes not men against women, it becomes all of us against patriarchy. And we need to dismantle patriarchy, same as we have to dismantle colonialism. Those two systems set up inequality in our life that we need to work on. So that was an aha moment for me. The second aha moment, I think, is important to share. Every single town hall we went to, and there were 15 of them, one woman would say, women don't value women. Women don't support women. And I would see all the heads nodding. And I think to myself, what? Like, are you serious? Like, this is something that every woman that came to this event seemed to be experiencing. And I shockingly thought, this is something that we need to change as well, as we need to be more supportive of women as a woman. And again, patriarchy is probably the culprit there too, that we're all raised in patriarchy. Even women are raised to value men more than they do other women and themselves. And so how many women will say, oh, no, don't pay me for that. No, it's not worth it. No, I can't apply for that job. I need to take another course. I'm not quite there yet. I'm not good enough. So women are sometimes our own enemies. So those were my two big aha moments that came out of that. So that when that one really focuses on patriarchy, I think that for me is the thing. The other thing I had a passion about, and I've never been able to get it off the ground, is I wanted to create workshops for she. So at the UN Women, they created workshops called He for She. And it was about men supporting women and men understanding how their actions are breaking women down. Whether it's something as awful as rape or coercion and all of those kinds of things, or something as simple as doing for somebody. So I went to this workshop, speaker event, and it was the manager of PricewaterhouseCooper, and we were down in the Cayman Islands. And he said that he had gone on a retreat with his 12-year-old daughter, and it was a He for She campaign thing. And so they had learned about, he said he was learning how when he did things for her, like say her bicycle broke and he was fixing her wheel, and so he would fix it for her. They told him, and he had an aha moment. He said, I was plucking her flight feathers. So as if she's a bird, he's plucking out those feathers. That means she's not going to be able to fly. So when it comes time for her to do for herself, she's not going to be able to do it because he's done it for her. So he's being a good dad. He thinks he's being a good dad. But if it was a boy, he probably would have helped him learn how to fix it himself, taught him how to fix it. But because she's a girl, he fixed it for her. And that's the difference. When you do things for somebody instead of teaching them how to do it themselves, you disable them. And so he was learning that. And so He for She was helping men understand how they could do things differently. And I think we need that for women too. I think we need a She for She campaign. I think we need workshops and awareness and all of that, how we can help each other, how we can help other women. And so that's just something that's in the back of my mind as a passion that someday maybe. So think about things like that. Think about things that have come into your mind, and if you've ever said somebody should do something about this, that's the thing. That's the thing you want to hone in on. Um, does anybody else want to share thoughts or ideas about?
I actually wanted to ask something.
Sure.
So, yeah, like, do you have any kind of example for advocacy that has been done in mental health before?
Um, yeah, so one was a group of students did a workshop on body image, and they did quite a good workshop. It was supposed to be 2 different sessions. We could do it on Zoom, and people were supposed to come in partners. So you would bring a friend, and then you would work together so that they did um, all the little uh, pieces within the workshop were for 2 people to do. And I thought one was really interesting. It was you were supposed to write down things about yourself that you didn't like. And so, we all are pretty hard on ourselves. And so I'm too fat. I've got too many pimples. I've got, crooked teeth. I've got, whatever it is, we always do that to ourselves. But then you took your sheet and you instead of saying it to yourself, instead of saying I in front, you changed that to you, and you read it to your partner. You are too fat. You've got crooked teeth. You've got, and you had to say it out loud. And so people were like, I can't say that. I can't say that to someone else. I could say it to myself, but I can't say it to someone else. And it really brought it home, I think, about how hard we are on ourselves. And yet we're more caring of others and how to maybe take better care of ourselves, or, that image. And then there was a piece they did, part of the workshop was about social media and how it can really invade your self-image. And so there were a whole bunch, they did a lot of research, and they came up with all of these little pieces that they put into the workshop. And then it ended with a meditation. And the meditation was a very positive thing, very, positive body image and all of that. So it was quite well done. I can certainly share that with you if you want to see how they did it, the workshop.
Of course, that would be great.
Yeah, so they did a PowerPoint, and in the PowerPoint, the facilitator's notes were there. So I could deliver it and facilitate it, knowing nothing about it, because everything I needed to know was in the notes. But then there was also a workbook for participants and for them to fill it in. So if they were in person, they would get handed a hard copy and they would write in it. A little harder to do online. We just shared the workbook with people, and they couldn't really make notes in it, but so that's one of the things that we did for not so much addictions, but for mental health. And think about things like bystander intervention. So it's one of the things that we don't talk much about, but there's a real movement to bystander intervention. So if you see something happening, and say, for instance, you're on the bus and somebody is being rude to someone else on the bus, and you hear the phrase, why don't you go back to your home country, or why don't you go back where you belong, or something terribly negative. What do? We all just kind of, ooh, that's, we pull away, but in our minds, we're frustrated and we're like, somebody should do something and blah, blah, blah. Well, the bystander intervention teaches people, ordinary people, what to do. So now you've got some tools. So if you're in a situation where you see something happening, you can kind of assess the threat. Is this person being aggressive and threatening? I don't want to get in the middle of that. So what are my other options? One option is I take my phone out and I call the police. One option is I tell the bus driver, so I get a third party involved. One option is, I thought this was a really cool one. You intervene in hey, Sally, I haven't seen you for ages. How are the kids? Like, what's going on? And you get in between and you divert. So this person has now he's lost the focus of I say he, lost the focus of their aggression or whatever. That could be, and again, you have to assess on the spot whether that's something that would work. So that's that could be a good workshop. It could be something that works. Another thing is some of the students have done in the past, assessing your own privilege. And that is kind of a cool workshop too, because once you start to assess your privilege, like I remember thinking I was pretty, didn't have anything growing up. We didn't have much money, blah, blah, blah. And when I started to assess my privilege, I was like, oh, wait a minute. My parents didn't drink. My parents didn't do drugs. I came home for lunch when I was little. My mother was home, and I came home for lunch and had my soup and sandwich. I only lived a block from the school. How cool was that? That's privilege. That's privilege, because there's a lot of people out there that grew up without that, grew up without siblings, grew up like totally alone, maybe without parents that supported them. And yes, we didn't have much money, but I had the support of my parents. And that. So it's really interesting when you start assessing your privilege and saying, I can't compare myself to someone else who grew up with maybe parents who were addicted and had to, come home and resuscitate a parent, from addiction. And it's just, the more I read, the more I understand my own privilege. And even the fact that I'm white, I mean, I know that doors have opened for me that I haven't even had to ask for, because I'm the right culture. And with colonialism, it makes a huge difference, and you have to recognize that. You have to say, that's part of who I am, and that is privilege. So it helps you to understand how others may have not had that opportunity. And and I hear people sometimes say, oh, everybody, it should be egalitarian. It should be, what, it should be based on merit based, right? But you can't start with that, because people haven't had the same start in life. And so you can't say you have to earn your way, because some people have not even had the opportunity to learn how to earn their way. And so you have to get everybody on the same level first before you can start saying merit-based is the way to go. Anyway, those are my passions, but those are some of the thoughts. I will send out that, I'll send you all that workshop that the students did, to see the kind of level of quality. Now, you guys are only one semester, so don't you divide it up. And so if you were going to say do a workshop, then do different focus, so that your research is not going to overlap, so that you're going to look into, so say for instance, if we take the body image thing, one person maybe looks into the social media aspect of it, and somebody else looks into some different, maybe the meditative aspect of it. And so that you're not over, I don't want to see people repeating the work and then feeling like everything that they did was wasted. Chances are, once we get going, you'll create Google Docs, share your stuff there, so that you can see what everybody else is doing, keep your references and all of that there, so that everybody can keep an eye on how the project is coming along. So, okay, go ahead, Ashek.
Thank you so much.
So we're coming up on the hour. So I'll say, so we're going to meet every day, every Thursday at 9. And we'll check in to see how you're doing. So next week we'll come back and we'll say, what did you what are your topics? And we'll look for topics that will overlap and see if we can kind of focus in. So think about the topic and then give a little bit of thought to whether you want to do a workshop, a speaker event. The research will be part of it anyway. So you're going to do research. And yeah, or pure advocacy. Yes, Stephanie. You're on mute. Yeah.
Oh, so one thing I noticed just from this hour that we are a diverse group of women from different parts of the world with unique experiences, maybe even like topics that can intertwine all of our experiences, focusing on maybe one topic where we all get an opportunity to speak. From our ethnicity on a topic that empowers women. I just noticed that that's one of our strengths within one of this little hour here being together. And I think that's a pretty powerful strength in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I did notice that too in the introductions, that everyone's from a different part of the world, and I'm sure you're bringing different that different background. We do have to make sure that whatever the final deliverable is, it's going to be something that Canadian women can latch onto, because although things like female genital mutilations and things like that are like an awareness piece, it's not necessarily a big problem in Canada. I think it does happen. And I know that we've had lots of past resolutions and things on it, but I don't think so. So some of the topics may not be relatable for Canadian women. So just, that's the only caution I would say there, is making sure that we bring that to a Canadian focus.
Mm.
All right, good. Kate, did you have anything you want to say?
Yeah, actually, I understand what you're saying during this hour. And I have a lot of things in my mind. But I thought before this time, when I met you previously, I thought this project will be the kind of very particular thing, like making program or service, but it's not. After hearing what you're saying today, it's not like something very specific.
꺼졌어. 아니 갑자기 회의가 나가졌어. 망했다.
Yeah, she's coming back. Okay, yeah, sorry we lost you there, Kate. Your internet looked wonky, but just to, if you can hear me, just to let you know that yes, that's we don't deliver any specific programs to the public. So we, everything that everything you create in the deliverable will be something that we could offer our members or people in the public. We don't have to charge. We can do free events on Zoom, and then offer it as just an awareness piece. So yeah, so use the same link for all of our meetings. And so that link that came out for this meeting. And then we'll see you next week at 9:00. And
Okay.
yeah, have a great
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, you
Thanks,
too.
Eric.
Great. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Linda.
Okay,
Thank
bye for
you
now.
for today. Bye.